So in this tutorial we're going to be looking at drawing an eye as well as some fur, and this tiger is perfect for this situation because of the variation in the colour of the fur, and we go from really short fur to a fairly good length. And the eye is also a lovely aspect of the eye. So we've done all the prep work, and I initially like to get a dark in fairly early in the process. So the pupil I'm going to begin with and put a bit of blue violet underneath the black very gently. And looking at the image, which I've enlarged, there's a bit of a blue influence along the base here from the blue sky. So again, I'm going to use the blue violet and just lightly at this stage, directional strokes. Just get my eraser and dab that. I had to leave these lines so that you could sort of see the outline. I'll just lightly pop in a bit of blue violet there as our initial guide along this side here. And on this side it's slightly different colour, so my under layer for my black is actually going to be Pupil violet on this from here. So I just pop this in down here, just a light layer there because it's actually got a lighter tone underneath. I'll bring that Pupil violet all the way down into here as well, because that's quite a nice rich black down there. This will look nice underneath. So I'll go a little bit heavy with the pressure there and make that a darker black. Just soften those edges off here a bit because that merges into a bit of the fur. Just go with the violet up to here. A few little lighter marks there, so I'll just go around them for now. Put the violet in there as well for now. I'm going to put the blue violet over that. You can see already we're approaching quite a nice black already. And swap back here to use the blue under the black in this area as well. Just very lightly cover that because that's actually a light highlight there. And up here I'm going to continue with the Pupil violet as his top eyelid. Come over the blue as well. Then I will put the black over it. This is just light at the moment, just to give me a bit of a guide. I'm not going quite to the edges at this stage because they're going to be quite soft, so I'll just stay in off the edges a little bit. I'm going to back off the pressure here because this is actually a lighter sort of bluey black. So I've just gone over some of these areas with the black, and I've darkened this spot here because I don't go dark too soon, except in this little spot that I know is in the correct place and it is quite dark. So that just gives me a nice dark. Now pretty much my lightest light on this image is going to be that little highlight in the eye, and then coming close behind it is the white around the eye, probably that underbit of the eye. So I've got my whitest white and a fairly dark in, which gives me a nice range to work with as far as my values. And as I'm laying down these colours, initial colours, important things is every time you are changing a tone value or a colour or both across, even in an area like that, I'm very aware of my edges. So anywhere that's got a soft transition, so we've got a highlight here, this is I just back off my pressure and keep that very soft. Because if you go too hard and you create a hard edge when you don't need one, then you've just got to erase later, and you just get into the habit of working with your edges right at the beginning. It's a very good habit to get into, keeping them nice and soft. So I was just establishing a bit of a structure around this eye. There's a little bit of a dark in there. I'm going to start with the yellow of the iris, and this is light yellow ochre, and I'll move around in just light little elliptical strokes in a circular fashion. But I'm thinking, as I'm approaching this eye, about the structure of the eye. It's a round ball and it's glassy, so it'll be soft pressure to start with, just to give it a bit of and making it a ball shape, so just to give it a bit of structure early on. It starts to get lighter towards the pupil, so I'm just giving a light covering through there. And I don't know if I've quite got the shape right, but I can modify it. Doesn't look quite right here, but I'm coming in with brown ochre and putting in that darker, lovely dark he's got in the edge of the iris there. So again, little elliptical strokes. And the lighter colours like this yellow ochre is slightly creamy, so you're going to get a slightly different application. I don't go too heavy with these light colours at the beginning, otherwise they, I don't know, they get a bit slick fairly quickly. So I just want to get a little bit of the tonal sort of range happening. Now warm grey, I popped this little, you sort of got a little bit of loose skin there, and then a little bit of a shadow. So I'm actually using a warm grey here just to initially put a little bit of a shadow. I think I'll actually go a little bit lower here first with this brown ochre, just down there. Just get the shape right. Then a bit of burnt sienna. Just get that nice and dark along this edge, because it sort of falls into shadow So that the highest points here where the highlight is, and then as it drops into his socket of the eyelid, it's falling into a bit of shadow here, so that's why we're getting it a little bit darker around the edge, and that immediately gives it a nice bit of shape as well. So now I'll come back in with that warm grey here, just darken that edge just fairly quickly. And I'm going to bring that black in a little bit more. Just looks, because it's round, and it's looking a bit better. I'll just dab a little bit of that away there. All this can be adjusted at the end. It looks like I've gone a little bit out of shape, so I'm going to actually take this yellow just lightly up there, but there is what happens here, because of this brow is protruding, it gives him a bit of shade. He's got a cast shadow across the top here, so I will pop that in. So I'm going to just pop a little bit of green in here to colour this, give his eye a little bit more colour, and this is earth green yellowish. You could even use a little bit of blue over yellow. Just come back in a little bit stronger with the yellow now. Just pop that in the top. And I'm going to pop that cast shadow in. And I am using a warm grey here. At the moment. So I just think it's going to work. You could use a cool grey. There's a little bit of a shadow there. Let's bring it down. Then he's got, just colour that in just at the moment, just to fill it in, get rid of the white, come back and adjust that in a minute. So coming back to the eye, I've just popped in with my eraser, I did go over the highlight, which I don't normally do, but that's okay. I've just popped it back in. Even in the photo, it looks like it's up a little bit higher, but it can't be because there is that cast shadow across the top. So just be aware that you have your cast shadow across the eye, and then the highlight will appear just below that cast shadow. And there's a few little eyelashes coming across that black, but I've gone around a couple and I'll put them in a little bit later. Now I've got my cold grey one, and I'm just going to roughly go over this here just to soften that a little bit, and this little highlight here. I usually do this towards the end a bit more, so once I've got all the colours a bit darker, but just establishing that little soft sort of highlight just coming in gently there on those edges, because they are lovely soft edges. And deepening the black along here a little bit, just leaving a few little gaps because they, as I said, we can pop those eyelashes in. It's just to get a little bit of structure happening. Just go over that eyeball, pupil again, and I've darkened this a little bit again here, so that little highlight sort of finishes about there. This I'm not going much greener because I think the eyes are basically yellow. They might have a touch of green, but I'd say that's a little bit of reflection of the blue sky as well coming into that eye. And just pop in a few of these. Actually, I won't pop in too many. I think I'll leave that till I'll go over the eye again towards the end and do some finishing touches there. So next we're going to move on to work our way, I think, down this way. So this is a warm grey 5. I don't want that. Actually, I want a warm grey 3. Where is it? I'm just coming off this black. This is a lovely warm grey. So warm grey 3 here. And it's in here as well. Just a little bit of that transition. You've got to be very conscious of your transitions, especially where you go from white to black, as in this little part here. There's a little bit of a nice grey in there as a softening between the two. Now for the black, I'm actually going to use the blue and the Kaput Morton Violet underneath this black along here. Just work my way up. And this corner of his eye here as well. Just leave a gap for that eyelash. Just going to dab out. And then working with directional strokes of the hair, I'm just going to fill that in.